Today I'm going to bring you a solution to a problem that many of us have encountered but find hard to recognize. And if we dive deep into it, we'll realize that this mistake sounds pretty funny. Even when we briefly talk about it, we might confidently say, "I would never make this mistake." But I've made this mistake myself, and I see the people around me making it too. Over time, it slowly creeps into our lives, takes root, and starts destroying us. It leaves behind serious consequences, whether in our health, our success, or even in our relationships, marriage and love. So, what is the mistake we're making? I call it fishing in the desert. Sounds funny, right? But in reality, many of our actions in life are just like going to the desert to fish. We search for something, yet we go to places where that thing almost certainly doesn't exist. And still, we go. We stress ourselves out. We spend so much time and effort looking for it in the wrong place, only to come up empty-handed. Or worse, end up finding things that actually harm our lives. Let me give you an example. One about love, marriage, and relationships. I see so many people in life who have certain standards for their partners. For instance, you might want someone who listens to you, someone kind and compassionate, a genuinely good person. Of course, external appearance is often a factor at first, but in reality, when you've been together long enough, whether dating or married, you'll clearly realize that a person's inner qualities matter far more. No matter what, we all have expectations for our partner's character, whether we openly express them or not. And I'll repeat this once again. There are certain qualities that almost everyone looks for in a partner. These include being a good listener, loyalty, kindness, attentiveness, wisdom in handling situations, and most importantly, compassion. I've noticed that many people don't explicitly mention compassion, but when I bring it up, they immediately recognize its importance. In fact, they often get emotional just hearing about it. Compassion reveals a lot about a person. It shows whether someone will truly love you during your hardest times, whether they will understand your failures, and whether they will stand by you when you need kindness the most. These are exactly the qualities we look for in a partner, someone we want to date, marry, and spend our lives with, right? So now let me ask you this. You already know what you're looking for. You believe that finding someone with these qualities will bring you happiness. But where do you go to find them? Many people look in bars. I see men searching for attractive, fiery women in entertainment venues, drawn in by their beauty. Some even turn to Tinder, an online dating platform. Personally, I don't use these services for my own reasons, but to be fair, I'm not here to criticize them. As long as these environments are free from harmful influences and are used in moderation, I see no issue with people seeking their partner there. However, here's my real point. Sometimes, you set out to go fishing, but you end up casting your line in the desert. Let's connect this back to our earlier discussion. You want to find someone who is kind, compassionate, and a good listener. Yet you go to an environment where very few people have those qualities. I'm not saying they don't exist at all, but in those places, people often prioritize being trendy, having fun, staying out late, and living a nightlife-centered lifestyle. Now, if you tell me that all you want in a partner is wealth and beauty, nothing more, then fine. If you're sad, you'll deal with it yourself. If you're struggling, you'll handle it alone. You don't need someone to listen to you. If that's truly the case, then that kind of environment might actually be a great fit for you. The key is alignment. If you seek something and look for it in the right place, then you're fishing in a lake, and that's wisdom. But if you want one thing and search for it in the wrong place, then you're making a mistake and wasting your time. I've had countless conversations about heartbreak and failures in relationships, and when I look at the root cause, it always comes back to the same story: fishing in the desert. People know they want a kind and good-hearted partner, yet they chase after physical beauty first and prioritize appearance above all else. And then, when things go wrong, they end up heartbroken. For example, a man might lose everything, and his partner immediately leaves him. In his despair, he cries out, "Why did she betray me?" But let's break this down. From the very beginning, he chose a woman based on looks and pursued her by showering her with luxuries. Let's be honest, it was an exchange from the start. Be with me and you'll be taken care of. So when his wealth was gone, she left. But she didn't change. He did. She had always valued money and security, which was the very promise he made when he won her over. In the past, he had wealth. Later, he lost it. And unfortunately, the bond between them was built on wealth. So when it disappeared, so did the relationship. The harsh truth. If you want to keep a relationship like that, you have to stay rich forever. What I'm saying may sound a bit pragmatic, but let's be honest. This is a reality we see all the time in society. There are young women, even at 19 or 20 years old, who have already made up their minds, I will only marry a rich man. And honestly, I'm not here to judge that choice. Some of them actually do end up happy. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. My goal is simply to help you reflect on your own desires. At the end of the day, you need to be clear about what you want, and then go to the right place to find it. Don't say you want one thing but then look for it somewhere completely different. Don't go fishing in the desert. There are no fish there, only cacti. And when you get pricked by the thorns, don't cry out in pain as if you didn't see it coming. So where do you find kindness and compassion? There are many places where the chances of meeting kind-hearted people are much higher. For example, the library. Not everyone there will have these qualities, but the probability is greater. People who read often have a deeper emotional intelligence and a heightened sense of empathy. They appreciate literature, emotions, and the human experience. If you meet someone in that environment, they might not be extremely wealthy or strikingly beautiful. They might be simple, but they are more likely to possess the qualities you truly value. Or take volunteer work, places where people spend their own money and time to help others in need. Those who go out of their way to deliver meals to struggling families, who dedicate their energy to making the world better, these people carry a certain depth of compassion. And if you meet someone who not only volunteers, but does so with their own money, then your chances of finding a truly kind and selfless person are even higher. This is an example of fishing in the right place, going to a pond or a lake instead of the desert. Now let's take another example. Your life's purpose and direction. I've spoken to many people who tell me, I feel unhappy and dissatisfied with my life. Every day feels the same, like it's just repeating itself. I'm sure many of you can relate to this feeling. It's common. It happens to almost everyone at some point, unless they are too busy chasing something meaningful to even think about it. But for most, it's either happened in the past, is happening now, or will happen in the future. So let's apply the fishing in the desert mindset here. If you want a more exciting and fulfilling life, ask yourself, are you fishing in the known or the unknown? The known is everything familiar to you, your current habits, routines, and surroundings. And let's be real, if the life you want existed within the known, you would have already found it. But since you haven't, why do you keep searching in the same familiar places? So why do you keep fishing in the desert? Everything you already know, your current life, habits, and environment, you've already exhausted all the joy they have to offer. In fact, it's precisely that familiarity that has made you feel stuck and led you to conclude that life is boring. If you want change, you have to fish for it in the unknown. That means stepping into new experiences. Whether they turn out to be successful or not is a different story. But one thing is certain, your life likely needs some kind of renewal. Maybe it's a mental shift, learning something new, gaining fresh knowledge, or exposing yourself to different ideas. Maybe it's a social shift, changing your circle, making new friends, or building new relationships. Maybe it's an environmental shift, getting out of your usual surroundings and stepping into something unfamiliar. You might need something fresh, something beyond what you already know. And to find it, you have to go where new experiences exist. For example, you could take a leap and join a new club or community, travel to an unfamiliar place and push yourself beyond your comfort zone. Read a book that challenges your current way of thinking. Enroll in a course that forces you to grow in a new direction. Honestly, even the smallest changes can completely transform your life. Let's say you visit a new city. If you just sit there quietly, nothing much will happen. But if you build your communication skills, step out of your shell, and strike up a conversation with a stranger, who knows? You might meet someone who changes your life. Because the ability to do that, the skill of opening up, engaging, and creating new opportunities, exists in the unknown, not in the familiar. You need to experience this powerful truth. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. That couldn't be more accurate. Life truly starts when you step beyond the safe and familiar. If you want to live a meaningful life, you need to embrace new experiences. Of course, your past and your foundation will always be there. You don't have to abandon them. But growth comes from stepping into the unknown. And the key takeaway from this message is simple. If you want something, you must identify where it exists and go there to find it. Don't waste time looking in the wrong places. There's another profound quote that says, "One day, the risk of staying in a bud will be more painful than the risk of blooming." At some point, the fear of change will become less painful than the regret of never changing at all. So take a moment to reflect on what you truly value and desire. It's not as complicated as it seems. For example, if you feel lonely, what you probably need is someone who listens. So go where those kinds of people are, engage, and you will meet them. If you stay in your comfort zone, how can you expect to live a fulfilling life? If you keep fishing in the same familiar waters, how will you find something new? If you keep fishing in the desert just because it's convenient, you'll only waste time and energy. So figure out what you truly need and go where it actually exists. Life gives us signals all the time. For example, if you're unhappy with your health and don't know where to start, just eat healthier, exercise, and get quality sleep. That's the path to feeling better. And with that, we've come to the end of today's video. Thank you all for listening. See you next time.